And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to the Valley of the Judged. I am your one and only gaming monk, better known as Mildra, and with me is my good brother here in the temple, our resident sky pirate, good brother Sizer.
Ahoy, the vast Mildra. How are you doing this evening?
I am doing good. It is another case of people being more scared of me than they are of their bosses. I didn't even do anything this time. The there was a bit of an incident with offering donuts, but they were all chocolate, and I was like, somebody's got to go for this. I demand compensation for this insult. Because apparently some people don't learn.
They just don't learn, do they?
And for those of you who are new here, I have a chocolate allergy. So having a bunch of donuts around that I can't eat is basically the equivalent of taking off the glove and slapping me across the face.
Yep.
But
knives out, folks.
Yep. Knives out, pistols at dawn, you get the idea. But with that said, we are continuing our little foray into one-shots. And this time I keep calling it one-shots just for the sake of brevity, but it's more like two-shots or double features. I could go with double features,
I like
but
a double feature.
If I call it double feature, I'm going to think of a movie theater. And this isn't a movie theater. Although I have considered using that Let's Go Out to the Lobby song as the BRB music for the streams.
No, that'd be okay. We could workshop this right now. Maybe we could ask the chat what they think. I don't know. We could brainstorm a bit, see what we can come up with, put together a couple of focus groups, or we could just read the game.
Yeah.
One of those two things.
I don't like focus groups. And for this one, we have one thing I've covered in the past and one thing that I've been keeping an eye on but not spoken about on any stream yet. Now this first one, Struggler, is very obviously a Berserk RPG. I did interview the developer of it, Jackson Llewellyn, about a month ago. Good guy. He was a bit nervous at first because he had never done an interview, but first time for everything. And I told him what I tell everybody. Can you handle a casual conversation? Yes, you'll be fine. But
Indeed.
Struggler, and thank you for the lurk, Weitzel, is a D12-based game that is clearly inspired by Berserk. I mean, having the brand of sacrifice on the first page is a dead giveaway. But even though the core book is 94 pages, it's not going to be that dense.
Yeah, we can see just from the front here. It doesn't seem like it's fairly large print, and there's not in one column, so it doesn't seem like it's gonna be spare in its usage of space. It feels like.
Yep. So, play is divided by scenes. Scenes weave into chapters, which form arcs. The PCs, the strugglers, will find victory and defeat against challenging endeavors through their power in vigor, speed, wits, and flame. Victory will yield experience and reward. Failure will yield consequences. Your struggler is not safe. They may be killed, maimed, and traumatized as they face a harsh world of violence and despair. They may be forced into terrible decisions and risk succumbing to the idea of evil. And yet there is always hope. To struggle is to live. A character's dream, purpose, and loved ones must be remembered lest they lose their way to the idea of evil. Struggle, challenge, and rise to struggle again. So
Well, this doesn't seem very cozy to me.
So I will note we do kind of have bookmarks, though there's a bunch of blank bookmarks, but the table of contents is hyperlinked. So we've got that going
Hmm.
for us. So obviously you need the core rulebook, you need character sheets, you need pen and paper, and you need dice. 3 d6s and at least 5 d12s. Most of the time you're going to be rolling d12s. I do
Cool, cool.
also
The
like,
most, the black sheep of the dice family, I think we have to say.
yeah, uh, I had one idea that I've kicked around for years, but I don't have the structure to do. Is taking those old 1 cent a day ads from when I was a kid and saying for 1 cent a day you too can help a D12 find its home. The only reason I haven't done it is I'm not the right voice for that kind of gag. Uh,
Yeah. What is it? Is it a great axe that uses a D12? I feel like it was in 3.5. Is that still true in 5e?
uh, the only real way you're going to be seeing D12 get used is if you're playing Barbarian.
Okay.
Uh, it's barely used in it was barely ever used in D&D just in general, and 5e is no exception. Uh, there are a
Okay.
handful of games that I have that use D12s in dice pools. I think Blade of the Iron Throne did that.
Mm,
Uh, Blade of the Iron Throne was one of a handful of successors to Riddle of Steel.
mm.
I covered both, and I'm not going to do Blade of the Iron Throne and the Valley of the Judge because I already reviewed the game years ago in the
Yep. Okay.
Successors of Steel episode where I compared it and Song of Swords. Uh, both are decent games in different ways, but I do like that they point out you do not need to be a Berserk fan to play Struggler. It's highly recommended, and there are some spoilers and references throughout the book, but it is not required to understand the game.
Well, that's good because the only thing that I know about Berserk is what I've learned through osmosis.
Mm-hmm. It's a it is a start.
Hmm. There's a guy. His name is like intestines or something.
Ha.
That's right. Right. Yeah. Okay. No. No. Sorry, folks. I gotta step in for Joe tonight. I gotta pull my weight on the bad jokes or
Um,
in the dad jokes. Yeah.
bad jokes, dad jokes, and getting the death stare from me.
That's right.
But after the table of contents, we have a discussion on the 4 strengths. A character's power is determined by the amount of dice in their dice pool, which can range from 1 to 20. A standard struggler begins the game with 9 power. At character creation, you may allocate your dice to fit your strengths accordingly, but no strength can be reduced to 0 and no strength can go above 5, except for mythical beings. These dice will be used to
Okay.
roll contests, always drawing upon one of the 4 strengths. Vigor, physical fitness both in force and stamina, grants critical dice during action, also determines equipment capacity. Speed, quickness, and dexterity grants additional panels on your page. We'll get to that later. Determines order. Wits, mental acuity, knowledge, and wisdom grants you additional talents and can determine order. And flame, ability to influence others, grants
Hmm.
temptation dice during conversations, and determines power of forces under your command.
Okay, so I guess we're gonna have some larger scale combat in this
Yes,
game.
since the Golden Age in Berserk was very much paralleling a large amount of the Hundred Years' War, and just
Hmm.
the utter nightmare of regions that is the Holy Roman Empire. Um,
Yeah.
Mass combat, especially mass combat involving hired mercenaries, is a thing during that era of Berserk, and, well, that era during the Hundred Years' War. And
What was that war about again? Aside from like various religious sects, sort of like duking it out.
many things is the best way for me to put it. And because of the
Yeah.
way diplomacy worked back then, that's how it got to be such a shit show. Especially when you
Okay.
consider all the different provinces and dominions that were technically part of the Holy Roman Empire.
Mm-hmm.
Because now I will share this. I will share this with you as a side thing, just so you can have an idea. This is the map of the Holy Roman Empire, circa 1273. And I'm gonna
Okay.
put that in the side chat for you.
Yep. Let's have a look at that. Oh my goodness, that's a lot of different colors there on that map. Wow, that's more than one can easily count. All goes all the way down from Italy, of course, because that's where Rome is, all the way up into like Scandinavia. It looks like parts of like Poland, Russia, Eastern and Western Europe. It's a mess. It is a mess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd be remiss if I didn't point out that the Empire of Man in Warhammer Fantasy is also heavily inspired by the Holy Roman Empire.
Mm. Okay.
Uh, Although I'd say the Empire of Man is a little bit more organized, probably because you've had people like Karl Franz at the helm, who is
Indeed.
a better emperor than the God Emperor of Man. Yes, I said it.
Geez. Well, isn't he basically a corpse anyway?
Uh,
Not Franz, but the Emperor.
and yes, but
Sort of. I know it's sort of. Yeah.
even when he wasn't, there were some questionable decisions, especially
Mm-hmm.
the Nicaea incident where he ended up making the wrong call.
Okay.
But when it comes to contests, which is going to be the main way you do resolution, uh, I do like the thing put here in red. As long as you can describe it, you can roll it.
Mm.
Certain talents and rules will place restrictions on this. Uh, though the approach is opposing players roll off a number of d12s equal to the strength they are using.
Hmm.
And remember, strength is basically the 4 core attributes.
Yep.
The higher result of the total wins the contest. The loser of the contest takes a wound. If the difference is 5 or greater, this breaks the wound threshold, adding another wound each time. Remove a die for each
Okay.
wound. The wounded party gets to choose which strength they take the die from, and they cannot exchange dice between different strengths. When any one strength is reduced
Okay.
to 0, you face a consequence. If multiple strengths are reduced to 0, you take multiple consequences. When all strengths are reduced to 0, you're incapacitated, possibly dead.
Seems bad. So no
Mm-hmm.
messing around with the combat here, but that's kind of what we would expect from
Mm-hmm.
this setting for sure.
Yep.
If I know anything about Berserk, it's that it is an unforgiving and cruel world that Guts finds himself in.
Mm-hmm. What I think the reason this can end up working is if you look at the different strengths, almost like approaches in Fate Accelerated, instead of
Mm-hmm.
as traditional attributes. Because in doing so, and especially with this example they give here, it's clear that there's an encouragement to try and take different approaches as a situation progresses.
Right. Right. So if your vigor starts waning, you could maybe use your flame to call in the forces that commanding to help you fight or something like that.
Hmm. Now, as you take wounds and your strengths are depleted, you'll have less power to rely on, but you don't lose the abilities associated with lowered strengths. If a character with 4 speed has 3 panels but has to take wounds that reduce their speed to 2, they still get to use 3 panels. Critical
Mm.
dice, temptation dice, and learned talents from wits or experience are similarly unaffected.
Mm.
So if you get bonus die from equipment or talents, you can still use them. So you're not as screwed.
Well, that's good news.
Now, if you're rolling against an abstract force, the amount of die that the GM will use depends on the complexity of the task. An easy task is 1 die, a standard is 2, a challenging is 3, difficult is 4, and formidable is 5.
Mm.
Now, if you take too many wounds, you suffer a consequence, as mentioned. Consequences are based on the scene which they are inflicted. They can either be dire, standard, or simple. When you face a consequence, you roll twice and choose which consequence you face. If you roll the same result
Okay.
twice, then it's out of your hands. Fate has chosen for you. If you roll a consequence that could not feasibly happen, uh, such as being a struggler with no treasure and then being robbed, then you suffer no consequence, save the reminder of their pitiful state. Uh, and the player should come up with an explanation for the consequence. If they're having trouble, the narrator and other players can offer suggestions. Some talents interact with the consequence table, follow the instructions for that given talent. So, this is essentially a wound table.
Yep.
And basically, you're rolling twice on this table, picking one of them. And each time one of your strengths goes to 0, you are doing this again.
Yeah, seems and I kind of wonder how, given that you're sort of seeing how the dice are likely to add up, it does seem like you could fall into some of these consequences pretty quickly,
Hmm.
even if you're careful. Yeah.
Now, I think this is why when you are taking wounds, you have to choose which die get reduced,
Hmm.
as opposed to the inflictor or the narrator doing it.
Yeah.
Uh, Now, dire consequences work in a similar way. They're just worse. The first one we saw was dire consequences. Then there are standard ones and simple ones. Uh, I believe based on how it's described, it is going to be a GM call which degree of consequence you use.
Hmm. I mean, the dire ones look like some of them are pretty darn nasty.
Hmm.
So
Oh yeah.
hopefully you're not losing limbs all over the place. Like getting maimed as like number 4.
Yeah. Though
Yeah.
it's not like this isn't one of those cases where the highest roll is the worst result, because reckoning isn't a instant death. Just you are placed in danger in the future, a fate determined by the narrator which you cannot escape.
Mm, okay. And maybe this is something to do with the scales of fate that
Hmm.
I saw mentioned in number 9, Doom.
Hmm. But if you would lose your last power in a dire scene, you die. If you lose your last power in a standard scene, you suffer 1 dire consequence. If you lose your last power in
Ooh.
a simple scene, you suffer 1 standard consequence. Now, it is advised that NPCs don't do the consequence thing because it's meant for strugglers.
Mm.
If a consequence would make sense for a dedicated NPC, then let the player who inflicted the consequence roll twice and choose their fate.
Okay. Hmm.
But then we have awareness. Magic is a crucial force in the universe of Berserk, but not all beings are aware of its presence. The inclusion or exclusion of magical elements will determine over the course of your arcs and chapters the magical powers wielded by strugglers and NPCs. This power level is gauged from awareness to 5. 1 is unaware, no knowledge of magic. 2 is skeptic, has witnessed magic but didn't believe it. 3 is familiar, believes magic but cannot control its interference, or its influence. Master is control magic but with limits. And Astral is vast control over magic and the realms.
Now, my guess here is that magic in this setting is one that where you can play with it, but you probably can't keep your sanity very well when you do.
It's less an issue of sanity and more an issue of you're messing with vast things beyond your control, and it does take a degree of practice to exert some kind of influence on it. It's
Mm.
I guess I'd liken it to steering a ship in a wild current.
Hmm.
Can it be done? Yes, but if you're not careful about it, you can get swallowed up in it.
Okay. Okay. That kind of magic.
Mm-hmm. So this isn't, say, spellcasting in Call of Cthulhu. This is more of honestly, I'd say a parallel might be the way magic works in Wheel of Time,
Mm. Okay.
where it is something that you have influence over, but you can't fully control it.
Hmm.
I'm vastly simplifying the way magic works in the Wheel of Time, obviously.
Yeah. There's a lot of ins and outs to the one power.
Mm-hmm. That's also why I remember when I was reading through Wheel of Time D20, I felt doing the Vancian model with the one power was a bad idea.
Yeah, agreed. Uh, because you're not supposed to be able to just like that is not the way that the Aes Sedai or the Ashaman do things. They just kind of cast whatever they feel like as long as they've sort of got the juice for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And and anyways, after
Yeah.
that we get into character creation. First being concept, which is self-explanatory, and I like that they point out make sure your concept fits into a dark fantasy setting.
Hmm.
Uh, then pick your dream, a vision, a desire, a loved one which guides you through your struggles towards the destination. Your power, you start with 9 power, meaning a pool of 9d12 divided between your 4 strengths. You can you can assign power as much as you wish, so long as you have a range between 1 and 5. Your
So really, if
awareness
you're
is good.
yeah. So if you're gonna have a 5, all the rest are gonna be 1, at least at character creation.
Mm-hmm.
Or wait, no, you could have one that's you'd have 4, 2, 1, 1. There you go. Okay, 5, 2, 1, 1. I can math. I
Mm-hmm.
promise.
I hope so. We're dealing with games of shiny math rocks.
Ooh, shiny math rocks.
Uh, which I'm surprised nobody's taken the shiny math rocks meme and done a Gollum impression.
My precious.
I would try, but I know I would completely murder my throat.
Yeah, I'm not in the mood for it tonight. Sorry, folks. You're gonna have to go without the Dread Pirate Sizer
Mm-hmm.
Gollum impression right at this moment.
Yeah, but
Deal.
your awareness is 1 at the start. You do get bonus talents or awareness based on your wits. 1 at 1 wits, 2 at 3 wits, and 3 at 5 wits.
Cool.
You select 4 talents for your character. following the rules and limits of the talent section. Talents would be the closest thing to feats here, but that's
Mm,
obviously a bit of a stretch. Just a bit.
sure.
You also make 1 to 4 bonds. This could include people, places, or things that you're attached to, but could also include broader ideas. Consider sharing bonds between other players at the table, unless you're playing a duet game. 2 characters could share a brotherhood, romance, or rivalry with one another, or hold the same family crest or home village from a shared backstory.
Hmm.
And you start with clothes, 1 light source, 1 tool, 1 pouch, and 5 gold. You also take 1 piece of equipment for each talent you possess. For example, the Weapon Master talent would grant a weapon, and Holy Touched might grant a focus or special robes. Masteries do not grant gear in this manner, and you do not get free equipment when you spend experience on a new talent.
Mm. Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
But they do give a few sample bonds that you could take with a d20 roll. It's a nice way to throw a bone for folks who may not have quite an idea on what they want to do. Because of that, it also feels like this is a game that handles character creation at its most natural when it's in a group instead of people coming with their characters after the fact.
Yeah. Characters together while being overseen. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And of course, considering party composition is another thing. But for experience, we are doing XP as currency, which would make sense. Oh. And we do have a few example um, experience rewards, such as beginning a chapter, completing an action scene, completing a conversation scene, reaching a dream, denying causality, a triumph, or completing an arc.
Denying causality. That one jumps out to me.
Causality is a big theme in Berserk.
Okay.
Uh, we also
And
have
one imagines one of the things that you struggle against, one imagines.
pretty much, uh, and the biggest villains in the series, the God Hand, are almost agents of it.
Okay.
And for as powerful as they are, there are reasons why they can't easily manifest physically. They usually need some sort of catalyst, and even that doesn't always work.
Okay.
Or
So they're like, yeah, I kind of get the idea. They're like maybe in like a different strata or something, and their influence in the material realm is limited, something like that.
yeah,
Okay.
that it that would be fairly accurate. Um,
Okay.
and when it comes to training scenes, there's not much need to linger on them at the game table, and the narrator can simply describe it in montage. If the
Hmm.
players would like a richer scene with a chance of reward, they may request intense training. The narrator will go around the table prompting each player for a wager and a test. The wager will be for a consequence and conveys different rewards as bonus XP. A challenging 3-die test will reward 1 XP or risk a simple consequence. A difficult test will reward 3 XP or risk a standard consequence. A formidable test will reward 5 XP or risk a dire consequence.
Oof.
And when rolling the training contest, you cannot use your highest strength. If you have 2 strengths of equal
Okay.
power, you can't choose either of them.
Okay. Only train your weaknesses, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Now, if you succeed in the contest, you get the XP. If you fail, the narrator rolls twice on the consequence table and chooses a consequence for them.
unlike the normal way where you get to choose.
Mhm.
Be careful, folks, about what you choose to do in your training. Maybe you just want to fight a dummy in the yard rather than go hunt a cave troll, you know?
Mhm. But obviously, you do spend XP to advance. Uh, Learning a new talent, existing a talent to a taking an existing talent and upgrading it to a mastery, increasing awareness, and recovering from a dire consequence all take 5 XP each. With
Mhm.
increasing awareness, it has to be followed has to be after an appropriate scene. When it comes to a dire consequence, it has to be after passing a difficult contest. If you wish to do a full retrain, that is 10 XP.
Mm.
Uh, you can only increase awareness if you encountered a magical being or magical event in the last chapter. And if you're trying to recover from a dire consequence, you can't use your highest strength. Unless 2 strengths are the highest.
And then you can pick one of those. Okay.
Mm-hmm. If you succeed on that, you spend the XP and you record that particular consequence as a scar on your character sheet.
Mm.
On the other hand, if you
This is
fail, you don't spend the XP.
this is not your daddy's experience leveling. Because you may not be able to even do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. And hello there, Hydra. Welcome to the party. But when it comes to equipment, you have equipment slots. Each piece of equipment has a weight and a slot. Each character has a carrying capacity that starts at 4 weight and gains bonus weight equal to your vigor. Each slot can only hold 1 item with the exception of containers. Slots can be targeted by certain talents and consequences, which include containers, so backpacks, sashes, pouches. Backpacks can hold 10 pieces of equipment, well, smaller equipment. Sashes can hold 1 piece, you can have up to 2 sashes. Pouches can hold 1 piece, you can have up to 2 pouches. Don't tell Rob Liefeld that. Uh, Obviously, 1 set of clothes, 1 suit of armor. Armor gets a +1 defense bonus. You're considered to have 2 hands. And 1 piece of headgear, 1 piece of footwear. But the game is not concerned with keeping exact records of taxes and stocks,
Mhm.
but the promise of coin does still play an important role. So, a day of unskilled labor yields 5 coins. A day of artisan labor yields 25 coins. Fully equipping a soldier costs 250 coins. And soldier's pay could include light guard duty in a quiet town, 10 coins. Pillaging, pit fighting, or general thuggery with little to no threat of death, 50 coins. Entering battle against equal enemies, 100 coins. Hunting down and slaying a single target, 100 to 10,000 coins, depending on the target. Raiding
Mhm.
Castle Doldry, 5,000 coins.
Okay. Well, I don't think I'd want to raid Castle Doldry. Seems like a fool's errand for that level of coin.
And after that, they give a short list of items with their own weights, effects, and coin cost.
Mhm.
Uh, and coins cost weight for every 100. So
Even
that's...
tracking the money. Wow.
Mm.
The weight of the money, I mean.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This means that you can't be completely loaded. Um, it kind of reminds me of the whole bullion thing in Dark Cloud, where if you've got
Mm.
too much gold in a shop, the shop owner will not let you leave unless you buy bullion, because
Okay.
the way I'm not sure if you played Dark Cloud back in the day, but the way it worked was if you died while dungeon exploring, you lose all your gold. You don't, however, lose your items. So you can
Okay,
sell off that bullion to get some of your gold back, but not all of it.
got it. Makes sense. No, I don't think was that a PS1 or PS2 game?
It was a PS2 launch game.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't have a PS2 at the time, so I never got around to playing it. Was aware of it, but yeah. Well, I guess the shop keeps looking out for you a little bit there.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And going for obviously they bring up things like ammunition, vials, the rule of massive weapons because some weapons are too big to be called a sword. But you also have
wonder who
special.
wonder who they wonder who they could possibly be thinking about for that. Please go ahead.
But gifts are a special piece of equipment, typically a type of gear or treasure. Uh, this It bears one or more talents, which it conveys to whoever is wielding it. You can only have 2 gifts, and they cannot occupy the same equipment slot.
Mm.
A humble gift has 1 talent. A glorious gift has either 2 talents or a mastered talent. A artifact gift has 3 talents, and 1 talent has to be mastered. Each of them costs experience to bind.
Okay, that sounds like attunement.
Mm-hmm. On the other hand, you have cursed items, which give the talents from a gift, instead of requiring experience to bind it, the cost comes from holding the curse. Once you draw upon one of
Mm.
the talents of a cursed item, you are immediately bound to it and begin suffering the curse. The curse remains with you even if the item is not on your person, and it can only be lifted through a ceremony. Kind of reminds me of the cursed equipment in Dragon Quest.
Yeah, I could. Original Dragon Quest, Dragon DQ1.
Just the early entry, so a lot of the NES era.
Okay. I've got 3 in my to playlist right now, so
Mm-mm.
I suppose I could play 1 and 2. They do have that compilation out as currently as well.
Yep. Then we also have titles, which fortunately do not have a weight.
Only on your soul.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Now, when it comes to scenes, the game unfolds 1 arc at a time. Each arc consists of single or multiple chapters, representing sessions. Scenes will fall into one of 3 categories: action, rest, and conversation. Obviously, rest scenes are an important part. That's the way you take a breather before moving on to the dangerous parts. And it is one of the main ways that you will get power back. You can take a breather, which is 15 minutes, get 2 power. A 8-hour rest gives you back half of your total power, rounded up as long as you consume 1 meal. And a full break takes a week, which gives you all of your power back and allows for spending experience.
Okay.
But conversations are what you might expect, but the big part in here with it is temptation dice. Characters with high flame flourish in scenes of courtly intrigue and tactical scheming. A struggler gains bonus temptation die for every odd die in their flame pool. These temptation die are always half as powerful as standard dice. Standard D12s would use D6s for temptations, while standard D6s would use D3s, and add to the total of any tests rolled.
Okay. Okay.
But
So what do those do?
They're basically bonus die. They're just bonus die that can only roll half as much.
Ah, okay, got it.
I.e., if you've got a good amount of points in flame, you are better at conversation scenes.
Indeed. Feels like I feel like there's this maybe a character named Griffith who might be good at stuff like this. Maybe.
Maybe, but
Okay.
of course, action scenes themselves are in turns called pages. I actually like that. I haven't seen page being used as a time measurement since, or something like it since um Marvel Universe, the diceless
Hmm.
Marvel game, the one that's kind of the
Yep.
redheaded stepchild.
I have played that game.
Hmm. It's a decent game. I just feel like feel like the system that it was used doesn't quite fit what it's trying to do.
Hmm.
Uh, or rather, the whole thing of only having two resource pools like that is a little too restrictive.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Uh, but as Flame helps in conversations, Vigor helps when it comes to controlling the field of battle. You gain a bonus critical
Hmm.
die for every odd die in your Vigor pool, and they basically work the same way as Temptation die. So same rule of half, and you get one die every odd Vigor point.
Yep. Makes
Mm-hmm.
sense.
But
Definitely will help with survivability out there.
mm-hmm. So order, basically initiative, is the sum of speed and wits. Highest one going first. If there's a tie, whoever's got highest speed wins. In the event of another tie, you roll off with a speed contest.
Hmm.
But on your character's turn or page, you can perform a number of actions in panels based on your speed. You have
Okay.
one panel as a base and get an additional one at speeds 1, 3, and 5. I am noticing a pattern there. Uh,
Indeed. 1 at 1, 2 at 3, 3 at 5.
mm-hmm. And a panel can be used to engage. So you're doing a melee contest. It is a contested roll, though as attacker you do get a +1 bonus, so you get one more die. Whoever rolls the higher, best the other in the panel, meaning that engaging is as much of a risk. Whoever loses
Hmm.
must remove one power. Uh, any multiples of 5, or not multiples of 5, but increments of 5 over the other, you lose more power.
Okay.
Uh, a barrage is you attacking from a distance. The attacker is at a -1 penalty, but the opponent cannot wound them if they win the contest. A command, you issue a command to your forces. Moving between locations. This game is very loose with locations, which I think works in its favor. I don't think doing grid combat would be a good idea. Uh,
No,
hell,
it doesn't seem like it. So you can basically just have like a little map with saying, "Oh, here's the plain, here's the hill, here's the fort," that
mhm.
kind of thing. Is what
Oh
it
yeah,
makes me think of.
yep. You can help whenever the character you're helping makes their next roll. They have +2 power. You can sense, self-explanatory there, or improvise. Initiate a contest to deal with an object or the environment. Uh, there is no limit to the number of times a single panel can be used on a single panel. A character with 4 speed could move, engage, and sense. They could move, engage, and engage again. They could engage 3 times. Just remember that engage opens the attacker to wounds on a failure. So, in other words,
Mhm.
there's no you attack once, you can't attack again. No,
Yeah.
as long as you've got panels, you can do it.
Like how they're fully embracing the manga-ness of it all.
Hmm. Uh, if you wish to forgo multiple panels, you can combine it into a full page. You're devoting your entire turn to a single engage, help, sense, or improvise contest. For each panel you forgo, you get a +1 bonus to your roll. You cannot form just a double panel. It's all or nothing. If you use a full page to move, you're attempting to flee the scene. This provokes opportunity engagement as normal and does not grant bonuses to defense. If you successfully escape, you can watch the rest of the scene from afar, but you can't re-enter.
Okay.
Then we have the background, basically the narrator part of things. The background gets its own page on Order 0 and provides obstacles and events to interact with.
Hmm.
And when you bring another to 0 power, you can choose to hold back from ending their life. This is not always a mercy. In a dire scene, a struggler with 0 power faces 4 dire consequences.
Yeah. May just wish you were dead at that point.
Mm-hmm. But then we have the Scales of Fate. This is essentially a representation of the accumulation of your efforts. It should be represented in the middle of the game table. The strugglers are represented on one side of the scales and the narrator side on the other. Either side can make preparations for an upcoming scene, placing dice on their side of the scale. These dice can be utilized during a scene for an extra die boost on any roll. These are advantages to be used in later crucial moments. Once earned, fate does not go away until used, so unused fate is carried from chapter to chapter.
Okay.
So
rest scene. Okay.
So you can add it during a rest scene, a conversation scene, or an action scene, with 1, 2, or 3 dice added. During a scene, you can take any number of dice from your side of the scale and apply it to your next roll. This is done after the panel is declared, but before any roll is made. So this is essentially a shared set of bonus dice that you can get through non-action roleplay. So everything does feed into each other pretty well.
Yeah. Like to see those complementary systems.
Mm-hmm. Now, of course, the narrator can do the same thing with their side of the scales. But in order to make it from being too cumbersome, each creature used by the narrator has their own fate score. This is the amount of die that they add to their side of the scales of fate when they enter a given scene.
Mm-hmm.
And while the scales of fate represent the preparations of mortals and monsters to effect their ends, causality represents an unexpected twist of fate. It does not have to be logical, but it is never strictly impossible. It is an unforeseen circumstance that some might call a miracle, yet always beckons an omen hurtling towards an evil end. Causality is the ultimate power in the game, wielded in balance between the narrator and the strugglers. It is not to be used lightly or frequently. Invoking causality will change not only the outcome of the current scene, but the entire flow of the story. Causality should always be marked by a physical token at the table, such as a stone or egg-shaped necklace, a little on the nose there, placed next to the scales of fate. Each chapter should begin with the narrator reminding the players that they are victims to the roll of the dice, to the hand of fate, and the whims of causality. When invoking this power, 1. The narrator forces their own contested roll against a struggler to immediately succeed with a +10 bonus, which means 2 wounds. This may be done after the result is declared, but before resolving wounds. The causality token is passed to the player who just lost the contest. The player may now use causality as in step 1. In which case the causality is passed to the narrator and taken out of play until the next chapter. This initiates a roll on the omen table, and the narrator may not use causality for the rest of the chapter. If a player resists temptation and holds on to causality for the entire chapter without using it, they either gain plus experience for themselves or share 1 experience with every struggler.
Okay. So, yeah, we got some tension there. Some tension in between the choices that you can make with this the power of causality.
Mm-hmm.
At least for the player. The narrator is just gonna use it to be a jerk.
Mm-hmm. So they can use it to be a jerk and then play mind games with you, because you could get that auto success, but anytime you do it, you are risking an omen roll.
Mm-hmm. Do we? Okay, I guess we're gonna. Oh, is that on the next page? The omens?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looks like.
Yeah.
Okay, which is pretty much a bad thing each time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they do have a rule for exceptional strugglers. So this would be if you wanted to be a little bit higher on the table, i.e., a little bit higher level at the start.
Indeed. Yeah. Okay. So what are you? Oh, you're rolling a D100 on the table, or what are you rolling there?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, you are rolling a D100. Okay.
Yep. But it is. They do advise having all players be in agreement on whether or not exceptional strugglers should be in the game.
Mm-hmm.
First off, you pick a wheel and woe option, or leave your strugglers beginning to a roll of the die. So it is an extra benefit that you could get. Or you could not get the opening benefit.
Some of those low ones are pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Pathetic. You have no starting talents. You may learn talents through you can still learn talents through experience and wits. No equipment, remove talents, can't gain masteries. Oof. That sounds like the worst one, if I'm being honest.
Mm-hmm. And on the other end, you have something like Powerful, where you get 3 additional dice for your power pool.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got 12 power to spend.
Okay.
But you also have a sacrificial past. At character creation, a player can choose to give their struggler a traumatic beginning. Not all characters in Berserk have this element, nor is it essential for every character in a dark fantasy setting, but sometimes this can give your character the extra motivation to overcome their past and seek something greater. While selecting your initial talents, you can choose 1 dire consequence. The standard and simple tables are excluded for this rule. In exchange, you get plus 1 talent, power, or awareness.
Yep. Feels like something that our main character in a game like this might have.
Mm-hmm. Well, I
mean, manga like this, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with the case of Guts, he was born from a woman on a hanging tree.
Yeah. That's pretty rough. Ooh, you can be monstrous.
Yep. So that is if you want to be. That is if you want to be a little bit more non-human. I mean, Puck is an elf. Elves are more like pixies than than what you might think.
Okay. less like Tolkien elves, more like traditional. Well, I guess not even. I guess traditional elves are kind of like Tolkien elves. Now that I think about it.
I would say more akin to Norse light elves.
Hmm. But yeah, pixies I know were kind of a Victorian creation
Mhm.
because they sort of Disneyfied a lot of those um, old legends, made them a little more palatable to younger people and to the gentry.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But when it comes to when it comes to magic, and this
Hmm.
was something we talked about a moment ago when we looked at the awareness table. Magic comes from an intermingling of the worlds: the material world, the astral world, and the world of idea.
Hmm.
This is most familiar in the casting of spells, but is also present in innate and learned magical talents of creatures. A magical being is one with a magical talent, spell, monstrous trait, or curse.
Hmm.
Magic can also manifest in gifts or cursed relics. Through the use of awareness, it is impossible to ignore some or all of these magical elements. If you're playing a struggler with one awareness, you can revel in your character's discovery or skepticism surrounding the magic they find in the game world. But if you desire to reach greater heights of awareness, witchcraft, or even monstrosity, it is necessary to understand the fundamentals of magic. Uh, and I do like that he has a sidebar about the fact that this is not meant to be an authoritarian law on Berserk, but rather an educated interpretation meant specifically to facilitate story and mechanics. Because obviously, as he's writing this, there's still things about the magic system in Berserk that are subject to debate.
Yep.
But we first have a thing on the three worlds: the physical world, the normal world, which also has the elements. While the material world is mundane, its formation comes from the magical elements and their spirits. Undines are spirit of water, gnomes of earth, sylphs of air, salamanders of fire. Then you have the astral world, the magical afterlife where spirits exist. This is divided into the interstice, a shallow layer of the astral world that overlaps the physical. Cursed souls, undead, and fae roam here. The
Hmm.
Kiblath, a region of darkness where astral beings are born, such as ogres, trolls, and dark spirits. The Divine, a domain of profound, mutable landscape, adjusting to the wilds of its inhabitants, angels, demons, and gods. This is the realm of the God Hand.
You
And the
talked about
Abyss,
them earlier.
mhm, the deepest level of the astral world, sometimes called Hell, home to the vortex of souls, an endless swirl of consciousness where all of the evil thoughts of mortals reside. And
Not a good place to vacation.
yep, the world of the idea, the world of soul, the origin of existence, and the pure essence of creation. Little is known about this world and is considered beyond the reach of characters.
Hmm.
Uh, Although I do like the dev note here. It could be said that the world of the idea is this world, where you are reading this rulebook and conceptualizing characters and adventures. Be careful with this thought manifesting in your game, though.
Yeah.
Uh, but there are gateways between the worlds, such as the Elf Roads. These are pathways between the material and astral worlds that are utilized by Fae, but can be accessed by mortals and beasts. They are marked by semi-natural phenomena often present in folklore: a circle of mushrooms, an ancient structure of standing stones, a hollow tree that never seems to be in the same place twice. And how aware you are of them depends on your awareness level and whether or not you can even use them. At awareness 1, you are unaware of them and you can't cross them unless you're forced to. At 2, you're unaware of them, but you could spot them with a formidable contest. At 3, you can find elf roads with a standard contest. At 4, you're immediately aware of them and can pass through them. At 5, you're aware of them, can pass through them, create them, and destroy them with just a touch.
Seems powerful.
Yep. Oh. The Road of Dragons, a direct pathway opened by the God Hand, most commonly through a Bailit involved in a ceremony of sacrifice. The opening of the Road of Dragons is determined by causality and the fated boon.
Hmm.
Astral Projection. Any casting of spells requires a simple astral projection, while certain spells and ceremonies require a greater amount of time and focus to send out their ethereal body. And Ceremony. There are special spells that cause a greater path to open, such as Griffith's Incarnation or the Awakening of the World Tree. These are in their own section. Then there's the thing on the human soul and its connection to the world of idea and the idea of evil. As well as what an undead is, which is a once human soul inhabiting a corpse that need not be their own. As well as the concept of a daimon, or a benevolent guide, sometimes called an angel. Now, any creature who can use spells or use magical talents is still immortal with a soul, but counts as a magical being for the sake of effects that target magic. A creature with a curse is taking a step into the interstice and is considered a magical being with a soul. One of the big examples, of course, is apostles, which sacrifice their own humanity to become a magical being. Their soul is tightly bound to the vortex of souls. Once an apostle is truly dead, its soul is immediately forfeited to the vortex and can never be recovered or returned as an undead. Some apostles are so invested with dark magic that they can grant boons to pseudo-apostles, who gain very few of the benefits and all of the negative aspects.
It doesn't pay to be a cultist.
Fae are another example of magical being, of course. Not just elves, but dwarves, pixies, brownies, satyrs, centaurs, who are not bound by mortality and do not have souls. Rather, their physical bodies and their ethereal bodies are merged with their souls. In this way, they could be seen as a perfect being, but they are still subject to the weaknesses provoked by being a magical being. Spirits are what we mentioned before. Like Fae, they're in ethereal body melded with a soul, but do not have souls themselves. Unlike Fae, spirits do not have a physical form unless it manifests through a crossing with the material world via a spell, possession, or gift. Demons have a merged physical and ethereal body, but no soul. These include the Daka. Monsters, while a general term, specifically applies to magical beings with inhuman traits. And with
dragons, marrow. Yep, see that?
Yep. And of course, beasts are animals of nature existing within the material world. Whether or not they have souls is questionable, but they are not able to manifest an ethereal form of magic by themselves. It is possible for a beast to become possessed by a dark spirit of shadow, becoming a demon, like in the case of the Pishya. The Daka are also demons, brought about by the ceremony of the man-made Belit, allowing a dark spirit to inhabit a human fetus.
Rosemary's Baby in going on here.
Just worse.
Yeah.
But when it comes to casting spells, which is determined by special talents in the spell talent section, casting has its own required rules and flavor for panels in an action scene, but it's not exactly its own type of panel. Instead of expecting results from a single panel, casters play the long game, charging up a spell for maximum efficacy before unleashing their might in a single burst. So we have 3 steps of it: chant, request, and invoke. Chant, you begin chanting your spell, separating your ethereal body from your physical body to explore the astral realm. This requires a 5 dice contest, However, certain factors can reduce the contents to difficult, challenging, standard, or even easy. If you're nearby a ley line, -1 difficulty. If you're within the interstice, the Kiploth, or any non-material realm, -2 difficulty. If you're in the presence of a magical being, friend or foe, -1 difficulty. If you're in the presence of a full moon, comet, or similar phenomena, -2 difficulty. On the other hand, you could request. You find a willing spirit or group of spirits to call upon. The more time spent, the more powerful the invocation will be. Each full page requires a contest to sustain the spell at the same difficulty level as the chant. Each successful test adds dice equal to the caster's awareness to the spell pool. The full page bonus applies +1 die per panel used this way. If you fail a contest or your physical body takes a wound, the spell is lost. Then invoke. With all preparations made, the spirits synchronize with the caster, who returns their ethereal body into their physical body and unleashes the spirit's power in their own realm. All pooled die are unleashed according to the spell talent invoked by the caster. So, my parallel with the 1 power from Wheel of Time isn't 100% accurate, but I think this reinforces what I meant by spellcasting is something that does take a certain amount of focus.
Does seem like it. It certainly helps to have a little bit of magical help from the environment.
Mm-mm. But you can receive help from other creatures with at least 3 awareness, which works in the same way that help usually does. It's just that you add the helper's awareness is added to the spell pool. If you're subject to an attack, a nearby ally can take the attack instead. Doing so gives them -1 power, but protects the caster. Now, ceremonies are basically rituals. These are grander effects than spells. Now, many ceremonies in Berserk are up to interpretation, but the most impactful one is Sacrificial Bargain, which has been included as a template. A sacrificial bargain is the ultimate deal made by a struggler, forever changing one's fate. It is not to be taken lightly, as it will change the course of the arc and perhaps define it. First off, you have to have the Fated talent and be in possession of a causality token. Second, you have to be suffering from at least 2 dire consequences. One of the struggler's bonds must be within your line of sight. You must use a full page in an action scene to call upon the interstice. Once it is called upon, a few changes are made. 1. The environment is cut off from the outside physical world. Attempting to leave the environment provokes an environment turn of the narrator's choice. 2. The God Hand is summoned. They appear corporeal and can interact within the interstice, but will choose to see events unfold rather than intervene directly unless repeatedly attacked. 3. Any apostles and demons present must restrain themselves from attacking any mortals. Fae and spirits disappear from the scene. 4. The terms of the bargain are offered to the struggler who called the ceremony by the wielder of the ceremony, one or more of the God Hand. If the struggler denies the bargain, they are immediately taken by the vortex of souls. If the struggler accepts, their transformation into an apostle commences, and the selected bonds are branded for sacrifice with the lure curse. Then the God Hand departs, the environment returns to the physical world, and any apostles and demons are free to scatter back to their realm or among the physical.
You know, I've heard that Griffith guy, I've seen memes where it says that he did nothing wrong, but given the terms of the way this all looks, that seems a little suspect to me.
Well, it's about as BS as when people say Magnus the Red did nothing wrong. I like how Pancreas No Works put it. He said he did nothing wrong. But obviously the bargain is open to interpretation. based on the struggler's dream and bonds. But what is given has to be significant and will also include the apostle talent. What is taken must include at least one bond from the conditions, but other factors as well. The more that is sacrificed, the more that is gained.
Mm.
But other ceremonies might include creating a greater talisman, going into the ethereal dreamscape of a being, um, incarnation or reincarnation, creating an astral weapon, creating the man-made Baelit, which the whole thing with Ganishka was a particular level of screwed up. Uh, and
Yeah, I've sort of heard things about this. It does seem like it. For
mhm.
the most part, I feel like if you're taking that kind of inspiration that sounds like it could come from a Roman Polanski film from the 70s, you're not doing it right.
Mhm. Uh, and the Great Wave, which merged the physical and astral world. This was what caused Falconia and the biggest paradigm shift in the manga.
Mm.
But then we get to forces.
Okay.
I already we already hinted that there is some degree of mass combat, and here's where we go whole hog with it. Uh, Forces are mechanically weak even in large numbers, and many will be cut down by powerful heroes and monsters. And yet, you couldn't really accomplish your dream without an army at your back. Strength of flame and command panels will allow forces to be used in the battlefield and beyond. So first off, a player can only call upon one force in a scene established during the order phase, as you may have multiple forces to call on for different tasks. The narrator determines an environment or scene suitable for forces. Forces do not have multiple strengths. Instead, they just roll power. They do
Hmm.
not have their own panels, but rather act on a character's own command panel. Forces can be commanded to move, barrage, or engage. They cannot command, sense, help, or improvise. They have a declining health pool with a maximum and starting value equal to their force. Forces take health damage equal to the numerical difference in contests. When a force is taken to half its health, the commander must pass a difficult contest to maintain their force's morale and keep them in the fight. On a success, the force stays in the fight but rolls at half power. On a failure, the force abandons. This is basically rolling morale. If they're at 0 health,
Yep.
they're defeated. Defeated forces can be recruited again on a break, so a full 1 week of downtime. They regain half their total health on a bed rest, and no health on a breather.
Mm.
Now, while individual characters are enhanced with talents, forces are enhanced with drills. And you can see that the strength of a force is tied to a character's flame. So, I feel like it'd be underselling it a bit to compare flame with charisma.
Yeah, it does seem a bit what's the right word here? A bit more. There's so few words, when I was looking up words to try and describe the charisma stat, which I ended up calling panache in skies. I looked up synonyms for charisma. There just really aren't that many. Um, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. How would you put it? How would you put it, Monk?
Flame is I think the reason it's called that, I think, is because of an analogy that was used in the book about Griffith being flame like a campfire that draws people to it.
Hmm.
It is a force of personality, and here
Yeah.
we can see that it can be used just as much for a diplomancer as a tactician, which in a certain way does make sense. Uh, After all, war is just politics by any other means.
Hmm.
But tal then we get to talents, which are the building blocks that create your character. By finding different combinations and masteries that fit the concept, you can create a unique creation. Uh, so we have a baseline about how talents work. You have the name of the talent, the group that it's in, the effect, and one of 3 masteries. Which...
Okay, the way that you would develop it. Yep.
Mhm. So you spend 5 experience to get a talent. When you do, you only get the base effect. You can spend 5 more experience to get one of 3 masteries. When you pick one, you're locked off from the other. The only way you can change masteries is during retraining, which costs 10 XP.
So think about it carefully, kids.
Mm-mm. Talents are divided into groups. Each group has requirements and limits. With the powers, vigor, speed, wits, and flame, you can only have as many talents and masteries in a given strength as you have power in that strength. Which is a very nice touch. Boons represent distinct facets. Boons must be approved by the narrator in order to get them onto your sheet. You can only have one of them. Curses are negative talents. You can only have up to 2 of them. Magic and spells, you need to have an awareness of 3 in order to take any magical talents. And to take a spell talents, you need 4 awareness. You can only have as many combined magic, spells, and associated masteries equal to your total awareness.
Mm.
And monstrous traits can only be done by special characters, and you can only have 2 of them. As well as drills, which are talents specifically for forces, though many will directly aid their commander.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. And we do have the talents properly organized. I do like how it is set up here.
Yeah, just as we saw in the sample, we get a lot more just like that.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So I said talents were akin to feats, but I do feel like that some of the traps that happen with feat systems in the most litigious role-playing game don't happen here. Because for one, they're organized, and 2, there's almost an encouragement to go with a variety of options instead of doubling down on one thing.
Yep.
But
it is nice to not be locked into, a one particular feat tree for the entirety of your character's growth.
Mm-hmm. But then we have boons, which, as mentioned, you can only get one of them. Then curses, which are negative talents. The brand of sacrifice would be the lure curse. Though it could be in a more mundane form of it, or something else. If you take a 3rd curse, you die instantly.
Okay.
On the other hand, if you have a curse, you have +1 awareness. Though.
Okay, so helps you with those spells.
Mm-hmm. And when it comes to magic and spells, each one is a magic spell is cast by a character requiring additional training and acumen. You have to, as mentioned, you need to have at least 3 awareness to unlock magical talents and 4 awareness to unlock spell talents. And When it comes to spells, we have things like Spirit Summoner, Elemental Strike, Circular Barrier, Talisman, Possession, Clairvoyance, and Ceremony. So magic is on the lower end of the scale here. But
As far as oh yeah, okay, I see what you mean. Yep.
yeah. And there, of course, there are monstrous traits. Zod would be an example of someone with a monstrous trait, and basically anyone who is an apostle. Uh, and drills are specific talents for forces, and subject to limitation by forces rules. The amount of drills you can have is based on the flame of the associated struggler.
Hmm.
Then we have an interesting concept known as narrator masks. Which is described as a kind of play style for the GM.
Okay.
Each one has a different target to focus on, as well as roles among the party of struggler. This is determined by threat. In the case of a tie-in threat, the narrator has free reign. The three types we have are the God Hand, the Skull Knight, and the Mangaka.
Okay.
If it's the God Hand, you're playing an adversarial approach. The black marks for the God Hand represent evil itself, a tangible force gathered from mortal whims and manifested in your will. You start each chapter with 4 evil, and you gain 1 evil with every omen. At any time in the chapter, you may spend 1 evil to perform Cycle of Causality. When a player uses Causality and hands back the Bailet, you can use it again. Ouch. Always prepared. Yep. You add 3 dice to your side of the Scales of Fate. And Cruel Intervention. When a player rolls on the consequence table, you roll a die as well. You choose which consequence they face from the 3 results rolled. But the God Hand will set their sights on the struggler who poses the highest threat. Your goal is to kill or corrupt this struggler by the arc's ending. You gain 1 evil each time your target faces a dire consequence. The struggler who poses the least threat, pay them no mind. And we have, with the Skull Knights, the approach is you're not an adversary, but you're not on the side of the strugglers. And their black marks represent truth. Although it is very much a cold truth.
Not a comforting thing.
Yep, you can use to reveal reality, hasten conflict, or a timely rescue. Where when a struggler is about to die, you physically intervened. Their life is saved, but they lose 5 experience that would have been gained.
Ugh.
Or, here's an interesting one is Hasten Conflict. You recall an old adversary already met or hinted at by the strugglers, and add them to the next action scene. Each surviving struggler will receive 1 bonus experience from slaying them. Now, the Skull Knight's target is the median threat. This struggler must survive. You gain 1 truth at the end of each chapter if they survive, and you lose 3 truth if they die. At the start of each chapter, select 1 struggler by rolling a die. That random struggler is doomed by fate. You cannot use truth to intervene. If your target is rolled, you now select a new target who carries over into the next chapter. Meanwhile,
Interesting. Now this, no, we already went over who the God Hand is, but I assume the Skull Knight's some kind of sort of not unfriendly guiding spirit that shows up in the the
the
books.
Skull Knight, who it is treated as an ancient enemy of the God Hand,
Ah, okay.
and his motivations are very much kept in the dark. Whenever he shows up, things are about to go down,
Hmm.
but he seems to be someone who wants to see how things play out.
Okay.
There's again, he's not on the side of the heroes, but he's not against them either. He has his own agenda. And one
Okay.
of the
Yep, I
God
got it.
Hands in particular, he seems to really have it out for. Because anytime he's attacked the God Hand, he was the first. That being Void was the first target he went after.
Hmm.
There is heavy implication on who the Skullman was. That he was the first king of Gesrick, but it's never
Hmm.
been outright stated.
Okay.
There's also a few hints that he's been around. He's talked about at one point using the Berserker armor in the series. Uh, but he's one of those people that when he shows up, things are about to get real.
Yep.
And
Makes sense.
he's rarely shown up. But with the mangaka, this is a more player-friendly approach. Your black marks represent ink. You start the chapter with 2 of them. You gain 1 ink when a struggler faces a dire consequence. You can spend ink to have the strugglers be helped by a friendly NPC, reduce one side of the scales of fate to 0, and reduce the other side by the same amount. Basically reset the scales of fate. Or force a struggler to face a difficult contest as their dream or one of their bonds is tested. If they win, they gain 2 bonus experience and clear all simple and standard consequences.
Mm.
Their target
Okay.
is the struggler with the lowest threat. The goal is to see their struggler in their potential. You gain 3 ink if this target earns a triumph. You lose 1 ink each chapter the target survives without facing a standard or dire consequence. I like the breaking the fourth wall with the mangaka.
Yeah.
Uh,
Hmm.
but after a bit, after at that we go into the narrator's guide, which is a lot of stuff that we can skim basically. Since it is a nice kind of setting the tone about pacing and the like, but it's not something we can really dive into.
Hmm.
Uh, as well as content, uh, adapting it to other worlds, which is a nice touch. Some advice on creating talents, as well as a few rule variants. One of them being fate adjustments, i.e., if you want to use a different kind of die and have a different power threshold and different wound thresholds, you can take that
Okay.
approach.
Cool. Cool. I like that.
The threshold being how many extra points you need to win by in order to inflict additional wounds. It's if you want something a little less random. And this goes from D4 all the way to D100. And of course, there's also doing variants on omens, messing around with causality, uh, or doing the sacrificial act. But that more or less covers struggler. So Personally, I enjoy it. There's definitely some parts that could be refined, and they will be refined in time. I do like how everything feeds into each other,
Hmm.
but what is your take?
Well, let's see. The first thing that this is like the first time I've really gone over a game that had GM classes, and I like the way this one does it. It's it's using some elements from the manga to help the GM find their style and to give them some like additional fun things that they can do um, with that. So now I don't have as I mentioned before, I don't have as much of a connection to the source material, but I could see like even without that, I could see enjoying this game. As we mentioned, the talents are easy to understand, easy to use. Definitely a game where embracing failure is going to be necessary in some instances. Um, but that's okay. Doesn't always have to be a superheroic fantasy, right? We can have games where we have to struggle. That's just perfectly fine. I like the idea of the bonds too. Now that I'm looking at it, the like having sort of encouraging players to sort of use the buddy system when they're making characters. That feels like a good way to um, encourage some like early role playing, and getting to know each other that much more quickly. What else can I say about this? The magic stuff. Just like the rest of it, seems fairly straightforward. Yeah, I like it. Um, I don't necessarily think I would need to dive into it a whole lot more in order to see what I could find to enjoy about it. It just seems like a fun game a fun in the way that a dark fantasy game that is kind of here to torture you can be. But
Hmm.
I'm here for it as a long time like World of Darkness player. I'm here for it.
Yeah. Uh, First off, it is always nice to see the D12 get some love.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, though, oddly enough, when going through this, I kept getting reminded of the attributes as damage approach that you see in the fragged games.
Mm-mm. Yeah, no individual HP stat. You just take it away from your your traits or strengths. I suppose
Yeah.
they is what he calls them.
Mm-hmm. Uh, Traveler also does this, and with Traveler's infamous lethality.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd say also I think I was gonna say that the only tricky thing might be Dream and Bonds, but this this is going to be dependent on the GM setting the tone for whatever world they're having this take place in, whether it is the world of Berserk or their own setting. They're going to need to make that explicitly clear if this is the game that's going to be leaning into the narrative side of things.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but over, if I were to put Struggler on my grading metric, I would go with recommended.
Yep.
There's because it is going to. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have a game have some improbability from the GM, but it is going to live and die with how in sync the table is.
Mm.
Which that is
Yeah,
going to be a very your mileage may vary kind of thing.
for sure. It's probably better to play with a unestablished group than to put this one, to inflict this upon a group of randos at at the local game shop.
Hmm.
Unless they're all like Berserk super fans, I suppose.
That being said, I could easily see myself breaking this out at cons more than, especially since I'll probably run into Berserk fans at a con, as
No
opposed
doubt.
to running it at a tabletop convention. And incidentally, with some of the games I run, I have better luck at anime and video game conventions than I do at tabletop ones. Oh, I'm not the only one who's brought that up. I think Vincent brought it up as well. Oh, Vincent of Vindicated. Oh,
Gotcha.
because a few people had at tabletop cons they would turn up their nose at his work, saying it was too anime, which is unfortunately there is still that sentiment in certain old guards within the space. But we will take a break for a couple minutes, and then we'll get right into the last-minute adjustment I had to make as we cover Tom Clancy's The Division, the role-playing game.
All right,
So
we'll see you in a few. We'll see you in a few minutes, folks.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey ho.
So, the Division. I have played Division 1 and 2, albeit briefly. Um, the original Division eh, was okay. I felt like it didn't quite establish its identity, and some of the stuff it did. It felt like the setting was more interesting than the gameplay itself.
Hmm.
Um, Division 2, I feel like that was where it started to hit something of a stride in terms of having a better gameplay setup. I think it's because by that point Massive had figured out what the hell they were doing.
Cool. Now I've not played either game. I figured it. If you had just asked me without knowing anything about it and not having looked it up, I thought, this is like gonna be like Splinter Cell or something. Um, but no, I looked it up a little bit. Seems like it's either like a post-apocalypse or mid-apocalypse setting.
Mid-apocalypse, because an outbreak
Hmm.
happened in one city, and that city has been isolated and basically become this Wild West of an area. I think it was
Okay.
DC. Uh,
Okay.
and the Division is essentially an organization built around trying to rebuild.
Yeah.
Uh,
Is it like a UN organization, U.S. government controlled, or?
uh, it's never out. I don't recall if it was outright stated, but you're not getting international help. I can say
Mm,
that for certain.
okay.
So, obviously, it will be going into things like World Overview, a rule summary, the Murray Hill adventure, and a few pre-gens. So, let me get one bit of bullshit out of the way right now. To everybody who cynically assumed that this was going to be jumping on the 5e bandwagon, you can all kiss my black ass. This is using its own grits system. Uh, and obviously, this is the first English project by Arcane. Well,
Hmm.
Arcane Asylum. Let's not confuse it with Arcane Studios.
Right.
Uh, they have been in the game for about 10 years, but it's mostly translating other people's games into French, especially from studios like Art Talsorian Games and Modifius and Free League.
A little bit of Fallout, a little bit of Cyberpunk. It was Cyberpunk Red, right?
Yep.
Um, yep. A few different things. World of Darkness stuff too.
Hmm. Which is Renegade right now. Well, Renegade kind of, I think. There's been a lot of hot potatoing going on with World of Darkness over the last 10 years.
Yeah. Let's see. I think it was. Oh, it's in some Stockholm-based studio right now.
Uh,
Um.
see, there was with Renegade for a while. Then there was the whole Onyx Path thing. Then Onyx Path didn't have it.
Is it
Then Onyx.
Paragon?
Uh,
No. What is it? Oh, I okay. You said
Paradox.
Renegade, and I thought Paradox. There we go.
who is
Paradox.
mostly known for their grand strategy games.
Mm.
They even have a convention dedicated to it. But
Mm.
so we are going to be using D10s. Uh, that much is clear. They do have a little teaser about what the starter set might look like, which is nice. If I end up backing this, I won't be backing for the starter set.
Mm-hmm. Just the PDFs.
Yep. So the we go into a bit of the division. Basically, the US has to survive in the aftermath of a virus called the green poison being unleashed in New York City on Black Friday. Coming at a
Mm.
time of deep political instability, this outbreak plunged the nation into chaos. Death rates skyrocketed, and within weeks, the East Coast is succumbed to widespread panic and insurrection.
Mm.
Meanwhile, the virus continues its spread, threatening to engulf the entire country. Realizing the extent of the threat, the US government implemented National Security Presidential NSPD 51, an exceptional measure designed to preserve order by activating the division, a unit made of sleeper agents infiltrated into the population. This unit's sacrifices and heroic efforts are central to this setting and have been showcased across the video games, novels, and comic books.
Mm.
Uh, then they go into a bit of the green poison outbreak, also known as dollar flu. Uh, and
Oh.
and go and there
Yep.
there was talk of turning the division into a movie, but it was deemed not the best time to do that because COVID.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Gonna have Jake Gyllenhaal and Jessica Chastain supposedly, but seemed like it was coming to fruition just around 2021. So bad timing.
Although 2021, which meant they were still talking about it in 2020.
Oh man.
However, going a bit further, uh, after you have the first wave of the division activated, and then a second wave after the threat expands even further. Uh,
Okay.
but you also
Want to
have
get
a faction known as the JTF, or Joint Task Force, which is composed of first responders. So police, firefighters, and emergency workers, as a way to coordinate efforts without official support. Hold on a second.
all right. So we have they have sort of gone rogue,
Mm-hmm.
which seems to be like the smart move in this particular case.
Oh yeah, but the bulk of actual resources that can do something is still under the um, purview of the division.
Right.
Uh, and they have their own. You're clearly members of said division as a PC, obviously, and it does go into
Hmm.
what that is going to be, as well as the organization itself. And they are still on some level organized, and going into the agents, along with their phases of operation being built around a answer protocol. Answer being an acronym for Activation, Network, Secure, Watch and Explore, Engage, and Recovery.
Mm.
Uh, you do get access to specialized equipment, uh, along with on both tech and otherwise, as well as whether it be the ISAC network, smartwatches, special lenses, the Echo device. So things that are going to be familiar to people who have played the games.
Okay.
Uh, Obviously, after that, they go into the state of things with the U.S. Uh, but there is
And,
still a focus on the East Coast.
okay. Though it did sound, maybe there'll be more in the main game, but it did sound like they kind of wanted to go beyond the scope of the games from their mission statement earlier.
That seems to be the case. Uh, but of course, then you do have the factions within New York, such as the Cleaners, the Rikers, and the LMB, the Last Man Battalion.
Hmm.
Uh, these were factions within the first game, and in the DC factions, you have the True Sons, the Outcasts, and the Hyenas.
I don't like the sound of any of those names.
They were villain factions, so you're not supposed to.
Okay, there we go.
Yep. But then we get to the meat and potatoes, the resolution system. Uh, what they call the GRIS system, and I'm sure we'll find out why they call it GRIS like that, as if it's a acronym, and actually it's in the sidebar. So
Yep.
you gather and roll between 1 to 5 d10s, then choose one of them to be the resolution die. If that's equal to or greater than the difficulty given by the coordinator, basically the GM, then the roll's a success.
Okay.
And apparently the reason it's called the GRIS system is it's an acronym for gather, so the amount of die that you're going to be gathering. Roll, obvious, self-explanatory. Indicate which is the resolution die, and succeed.
I can tell this game and this setting likes its sort of, semi-military, this like faux military acronyms.
Yep. But you're either going to be rolling skills or traits. It looks like.
Mhm.
But it doesn't look like we're doing a attribute plus skill approach. Especially since there seems to be a hard cap of 5 dice.
Okay. So can your skills and so skills and trait rolls are separate,
Mm-hmm.
and are they? I guess we don't know what that looks like on a character sheet yet.
Yep. But there are 12 skills that they mentioned, which is a decent amount. The traits are quickness, resilience, and vigor. Quickness can also be used to determine initiative. Resilience can be used to determine your reaction to stress, heat of battle, and the consequences of your worst rolls. Vigor for resisting the effects of certain toxins and injury level.
Mm.
And of course, the die pool, as mentioned, it is a set of d10s. It looks. I keep getting the vibe that there is no way you're rolling more than 5 dice. So if you give 5 die per player, then most rolls are going to be fine. With the difficulty, the value is usually between 5 and 10. The median difficulty is 7.
Okay. So yeah, we got a. So that's either a 30% or 40% chance.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Modifiers. which may be situational, only affect difficulty, never how many die you roll.
Hmm.
So, once again, reinforcing that hard cap. But
They give us some.
sometimes the resolution die might not be the highest result. Um,
Hmm.
which I th which I think is the reason why they didn't say roll X die and keep the highest, because it sounds like with things like vigor rolls, you might not want the highest die.
Okay. And additionally, you might want like a few different colored D10s so you can easily pick out which one you picked as the resolution die.
I'm getting a bit of Year Zero vibes,
Hmm.
even though it's not using the exact same setup. Because Year Zero, even if you are rolling a bunch of D6s, it's actually quite restrained on its approach with them.
Yeah. It's not like you have to go buy out the entire dice bin in your local game shop to
Hmm.
have the dice you need for this game.
Yep. This isn't Shadowrun,
Mm-mm.
but once you've chosen the die, you compare it to the difficulty value to see what outcome you get. So if you rolled under the difficulty and it's a 1, the roll's a fiasco.
Oh,
If it's under the difficulty, it's a fail. If it's equal to the difficulty, it's a success. If it is higher than the difficulty, then it's a success and triggers a tour de force. If it's higher than the difficulty and it's a 10, it's a feat.
okay. So what's a tour de
Yep.
force and a feat and a fiasco, I suppose.
Yep, we'll get to that in a minute. And this is only for skill rolls, not trait rolls. So,
Yeah.
fiasco is a botch.
Mm-hmm.
It is a no and. Failure is just a no. With tour de force, it says the roll counts as a success, but also comes with one or more advantages defined by the coordinator. Producing a tour de force underlines the success and talent an agent has in the execution of their chosen action. So this is
Okay.
a yes and if you roll a 10 and succeed, it's a feat. This is where you're squeezing maximum advantage out of your training or surroundings. In-game, a feat is like a tour de force and has the same effects, but it also comes with an additional mechanical benefit, which must be chosen by the agent from a list of 3 options, depending on the situation. The choice of feat should relate to the current situation. There are options for feats that happen in combat and for outside of it. If you get a feat, you pick one from the relevant list. Each one is tied to different situations. So we have 3 examples for outside of combat and inside of combat. Outside, you can generate one strategy point. You can give 1d10 to an ally on their next skill or resilience roll. Or the difficulty rolls for this particular skill is lowered by -1 for the rest of the mission, up to 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
In combat, you can go with Bullseye. Your attack does +3 damage. Focus, you generate 1 strategy point. Or Inspiring Example, which is just the same as it is out of combat.
Same with focused, yeah. So we've got bullseye and learning as the unique ones there.
Mm-hmm. Opposed rolls work how you'd think they would.
Mm-hmm.
But the coordinator determines the difficulty value of each roll, so it's not a case where you're directly rolling against each other. But then for support rolls, there is no limit on how many people can support. Basically, you sacrifice your own action and give someone an extra D10. So, and since I think this would be one of the main ways that if somebody had 5 dice, they could break that 5 die cap that we saw.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And obviously, combat skills cannot benefit from support rules. But then we have attributes, skill domains, and skills. So we already covered the three attributes. Uh, then skill domains seem to be um, subgroups of skills, a common base of knowledge. So general versus specific. Uh,
Hmm.
when you unlock a skill domain, you gain access to the two skills linked to that domain. The domains are environment, which is tied to awareness, bond, which is tied to awareness, physical, which is tied to dexterity. Uh, accuracy is also tied to dexterity. Then you have adroitness, there's a name, and tech, which are tied to technique.
Cool.
And after that is the skills as well as how they could be applied and their possible specialisms, uh, i.e., special techniques derived from the skill where you could develop further. I am hoping that specializations of skills aren't also their own die pool. That is something I don't miss.
Yeah, just like add a particular, if it qualifies in the particular situation, you add a D10 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Uh, there are quite a few there's about 12 skills that they have, which are in order: athletics, crafting, dialogue, gadgets, heavy weapons, knowledge, light weapons, medical, melee, observation, security, and stealth. And each one is tied to one of the skill groups.
Hmm.
Now, with specialisms, you can have up to 2 of them in a single skill, but never more than that. A specialism does add 1d10 to the die pool, but it looks like it's not a case where they're rated like skills. You either have a
Mhm.
specialism or you don't. I will note, please call this specialization in the final book. Specialisms is not a word.
Yeah, that was getting to me too. I'm like, okay, there's adroitness, then there's this.
Now, adroitness, that is a word. Not a
That
word
is a
that's used
word.
often, but it's a word.
Yeah, specialism.
Hmm.
I don't think there's any. No, no, it doesn't work. I'm sorry, folks. I'm sorry. Well,
I will give it some slack because
they are French.
yeah, you're dealing with the language barrier thing.
We know how the French feel about speaking English too.
Um, it's okay. Remember, because of old grudges, everybody in Europe hates everybody else.
That's true.
Uh, but obviously, when it comes to combat, the main skills you're going to be using is either melee, light weapons, or heavy weapons. Let me
Hmm.
see what they define as. They don't. Let's. I want to see what they define as heavy weapons. So let me see specialisms for heavy weapons: sniper rifle, grenade launcher, flamethrower, mines. Okay. Light weapons:
Hmm.
pistol, submachine gun, assault rifle, shotgun. So yeah, I'd say that's fair enough when it comes to the line between light and heavy weapons.
Yeah.
Uh, and my mind keeps going back to the heavy from Two Fort.
Hmm.
I am heavy weapons guy, and this is my weapon. But
Yeah.
let's see. They do have the option for doing tactical maps, but they have also embraced hexagon supremacy,
Hmm.
which if you're going to use a combat map, I actually prefer hexes because it's harder to do a kicking circle. And it is easy to do hexes in VTTs these days. But let me see what the range band for. So we are using a range band setup, so it sounds like using a hex grid isn't required. It is just if you want to go with it, you can go with it. But obviously you use quickness rolls to determine initiative. You're rolling d10 equal to quickness and choose a resolution die, highest to lowest. But
Oh, cool.
we have a sidebar
Simple
also
enough.
about strategy points. Tactics and maneuvers depend on spending strategy points, which are shared between all agents. So you can restore your SP pool through a few ways. The mission parameters deck grants 4 SP per card drawn. Interesting, we have a random deck setup. As well as feats or talents can give you SP back. So strategy points are kind of, I guess you could say it's an MP setup, but it's shared.
Yeah.
But
I guess I don't see why it would necessarily need to be a resource, just seems like something that you would maybe need to do some setup on, then execute. I don't know. We don't really know how the combat works exactly yet.
so
Um,
with actions, you can make a standard movement and either sprint, make a skill roll, or use a maneuver, or perform an automatic action.
hmm.
Skill rolls, self-explanatory. Maneuvers are the special combat techniques that the division has. These fall into generic or specialized. There are 3 generic maneuvers available to all agents. Each specialization has their own maneuvers that have to be unlocked using XP. Specialization would be the closest thing to classes in the division, but it's better to think of them as archetypes.
Well, now we can't change the name of specialisms to specializations. Oh boy.
Yeah, just use a different word because having 2 that sound that similar is going to create issues. At
Especially
least
when one
we,
of them isn't even a word.
yeah. Uh, but once a you have to spend strategy points to use a maneuver. Once it's been paid, it applies immediately without needing a roll. Some maneuvers have restrictions and may consume resources that will depend on maneuvers. So the three generic maneuvers that we have are Barrage, which costs 1 SP. Choose a visible enemy target within range of your weapon. They cannot move or act this round. Your attack inflicts no damage, so basically your suppressive fire. It costs 2 ammo to use. Then we have
Oh, but there's
Hmm?
suppressive fires further down too.
Oh yeah. Barrage only works with light weapon or light machine guns.
Mm.
Precision fire. Choose a visible enemy target within range. Deal your weapon's damage plus 2. Only works with a light weapon or a sniper rifle. Costs 1 ammo. And suppressive fire. Choose up to 2 visible allied targets. They can immediately make an additional standard move, which doesn't count towards their limit for the round. Your attack inflicts no damage. Only works with a light weapon. Costs 1 ammo. And seems that automatic actions are their minor action approaches.
Mm-hmm.
But we also have rules for cover, for position if you have the high ground.
Yep.
Or if you're in the low ground, as well as environmental factors. And Then when it comes to health, um, you have a graded gauge on your agent's sheet that lets you track health. This is made of 10 cells numbered 0 to 10, which covers your HP. You also have a protection value, uh, which is on each defensive item, and it determines how many damage points you can ignore when successfully hit. So armor is soak. Nice.
Hmm?
Uh, you also have a wound threshold, which is a notch under the fourth square of the health gauge. This represents where exhaustion and pain start to take effect. When it is checked, you begin to lose your focus and concentration, limiting your ability to think and fight effectively. Uh, at that point, you're considered to be wounded, and while your remaining health points remain equal to or below your wound threshold, you get a D10 penalty.
Hmm.
If it's at 0, you are downed. You can still move at half rate, and you can no longer sprint, with the exception of vigor and resilience rolls. All your die pool are reduced to D10, and you can't use maneuvers.
Hmm.
And whenever you go down, you have to determine the trauma suffered. Which, this is essentially a wound setup like you'd see in Genesis. You're rolling a D10 and seeing what sort of wound you end up suffering. Once again, I know I said Genesis, but I keep getting vibes of Year Zero from this.
Hmm.
And it does look like you have the issue of major trauma and minor traumas. Minor traumas are only inflicted during skirmishes. Major traumas are inflicted during confrontation. You determine what you're going to be doing, not by just rolling a d10 and consulting the table, but making a vigor roll with its full value. So this is where that whole, you may not want the highest one comes in.
Hey. Yeah. Just a scratch, yeah.
'Tis but a scratch.
Black Knighted up there.
Mm-hmm. But if you are agonized, that's when you are getting close to death. The teammates have 1d10 plus 2 minutes/rounds to help you with a medical 9 roll to stabilize you. If you fail, the agonized agent dies.
Oof.
If you when an agent has 0 HP, they are temporarily neutralized, but they can be stabilized if you want to get them back on their feet.
Mm.
And that's just bringing their HP to 1 or more, which can be done through medical care, through a med kit, through medical treatment, or good old rest. Though healing from traumas is a trickier thing, and in some cases might be permanent. So you can't heal from it.
Yep.
You also have a resilience value, which is essentially your ability to withstand strain. The average resilience roll is going to be a 3d10 roll, but talents and squad mate support can improve it. If you are called to do a resilience roll, that's usually a difficulty of 7. And if you succeed, nothing happens. If you fail, you're shaken. If you're shaken and you fail it again, you are panicked.
Okay, so we kind of have levels of like the frightened status. We're getting into statuses next too. It looks like.
Yep, a lot of them are exactly what you might expect them to be. And we do have a brief look at different types of equipment for this quick start. And given the, it looks like you are going to be tracking ammo, but it's not per bullet, it's an abstraction, which I'm fine with.
Okay,
Uh,
I see it there. It's like per clip,
yeah,
basically.
I do find it a bit amusing that the division's choice of assault rifle is an AK.
Oh, there's it says MK16 there though next to it.
Hmm. Then again, in Metal Gear Solid, you had members of Foxhound using FAMAS.
Mm-hmm.
FAMAS is a French design.
Yeah.
I know why it
Where did
was
those
used. It's
come
because it
from?
was blocky, so
Ah,
it
okay.
would be
Yep.
easy to render on the PlayStation.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But then they go into the Ashes of Murray Hill scenario, uh,
Cool.
which I'm going to be rapidly skimming through.
Skim, skim, skim.
Uh, they do show a few of the NPCs involved. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
then a nice little one page for the Kickstarter, which is going to be launching on the 28th. And then we have the pre-gens, so you can kind of see how they're going to go. Um, the belief system
Ah,
is
okay.
an interesting thing. I hope we get some more key on how that's going to work. Uh,
Oh, right. Okay.
mhm,
The belief in the principle. Yeah.
yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably similar to the morality system in some way, or
Hmm.
how it will affect your character. Maybe it has something to do with leveling too. I guess we'll find out eventually.
Yep. But when it comes to traits, it does look like there's a hard cap of 5.
Hmm.
Uh, there's it already has one its own maneuver, disabling shot. And okay,
Ah, yeah.
this is what they meant by the way skills work. We have a skill web
Ah,
for each
okay.
character. So the web starts with the 3 traits, then it expands on to categories and then individual skills.
Okay.
So let me see what and not in addition to skills, also specialisms. So we kind of have a cascade going on here,
Yep.
which would explain so that would explain why stealth is at 4. So I think the approach is an individual skill is the sum of how many points are in that skill as well as the group and the trait.
Yep. And observation is also at 4 there. That would make sense.
Which in a
Yep.
roundabout way, I kind of like this a little bit more than just here's a bunch of points, spend it where you want it.
Yeah.
I think the deciding factor is going to be how much more expensive it is to improve attributes versus skill groups versus skills or getting a specialism.
Mhm.
And let me see, did I see a okay, we are doing XP, so we're probably doing the XP as currency approach. Uh,
Yeah, would make sense.
mhm.
New X times however many you would think.
Yep. So this character's disabling shot effect. Designate a visible target within your weapon's range. You shoot them in the leg, dealing 4 damage and hindering their movement. Until the end of this combat, their movement value is reduced to 1 and they can't sprint. Costs 1 ammo.
Mm.
I didn't see anything about spare clips or anything like that. So unless I see otherwise, I am going to assume that the approach is ammo is unlimited, but clips are not.
Mm. Yeah.
I.e., you can shoot a certain number of times, and then you have to do a reload. I'm perfectly fine with that. That's how I usually do things anyways.
Yeah.
Because if there isn't some sort of extra clip item, then that would make the amount of ammo in your weapons particular I think a little too punishing.
Hmm?
But then we have that with with the rest of the characters, uh, and it does look like specialization. The main thing you're going to get from it is probably some skill setup and maybe um, a maneuver pool to focus in.
Yeah. I wonder how many there are. I bet, I bet there's probably they could put in quite a few, I suppose.
I think
Um
specializations in the Division 1 were the Golden Triangle. In two,
okay.
they expanded. But we have Sharpshooter, which makes sense for a sniper.
Yep.
Soldier, which is clearly meant to be a kind of jack of all trades.
Hmm.
Uh, then
Medic.
Shield, which you have a big ass shield. Um, and of course Medic. Um,
Tacticians next.
Tactician, which is is not meant to be the heavy hitter, but meant to be marking targets. It's clear. Uh, their technique, target acquired, gives can can have a target take additional damage when they take damage for 2 rounds,
Yeah.
and it only costs 1 SP.
Mm,
And that covers all of the pre-gens. Um,
yeah.
and as far as the whole shared SP thing, I think that's to reinforce that you're supposed to be working as a team.
Yeah, I get that. And I can set that aside as complaint if it works well. It just feels a little more. It it takes away my suspension of disbelief a little bit. It feels like it should be like maybe a stamina or a focus cost or something like that. But I get that it's shared and what they're trying to go for, so I'll let it go. I'll
Hmm.
let it go.
And let me check something. So I want to see if there's anything about starting SP.
There should be, because how else are you going to know how to play the module, right?
Uh, let me go back into combat.
Oh, I was looking for
Oh,
bookmarks, Monk. They're not there.
yeah, I have to look the old-fashioned way. So it's mainly through it seems the main ways mission parameters and feats. It doesn't appear that it looks like tactical not tactical points, strategy points start at 0.
Okay, got to earn them a little bit there.
Mm-hmm. Which in that case makes it more of an escalation,
Hmm.
and is also going to make rolling a 10 a big deal. Because remember, if you roll a 10, that's a feat, and you can choose to get 1 SP. So what I see out of the division is I think people who are more familiar with the very tightly focused playstyle you see in a lot of the Year Zero games are going to be in familiar territory here. Like Year
Hmm.
Zero is what I get a lot of vibes from, which certainly makes sense. They did translate Year Zero games into French. Uh, I would say like it certainly has the tone one would expect of a game adapting The Division, because health is not that plentiful. We very much saw that, uh, especially given the amount of damage that you can take versus the amount of health that you have is not much.
Indeed.
Like a pistol does 4 damage, and you've got 10 ticks on that health track.
Yeah, I mean that kind of you do probably have some armor. Well, I
You
guess it
do.
might depend on your specialization though. But yeah, it's they're trying to be true to life. Most people aren't going to soak up too many bullets.
Mm-mm. Uh, and because of that, it's very clear that one of the things they want to hammer home is if you want to survive, you have to work as a team.
Yeah.
No lone wolves here. I think what's going to really make or break for me is what I mentioned earlier, as well as how XP focused character creation is going to be.
Hmm.
If it's like earlier Shadowrun, where it's you've got 45 karma, have at it, with no guidance whatsoever. No.
Yeah.
If you have a starting attribute and skill package from whatever your specialization is, that's a little bit closer to the mark. And I honestly feel that's the approach they're going to take, where specialization grants you, a starting setup as well as specific techniques that you can get.
Hmm.
Uh, I don't think you're going to have a bunch of techniques even at late game, especially given the way this character sheet is set up.
You
So
might not need them.
you might not need them, and I wouldn't be surprised if you have options for swapping them out in the full game. I don't know if that's the case. And the deck aspect for generating these things is also going to be one of those make or break things that I can't say if it's a good or bad idea from this um outside looking in perspective.
Yeah.
Uh, that being said, I'm I'm willing to give this more time of day once we get more info, especially when the Kickstarter launches later this month.
Sure. What and let's see. This is the first like full adaptation being well the first not, it's not an adaptation because that'd be like a translation. This is the first full game being put out by Arcane, right? Arcane
Um,
Asylum
in English, yes.
in English. Yes. Okay.
There's a few games that they've put out that were France exclusive,
Gotcha.
but the majority of um what that studio has is their translations. So I
Yeah.
think that's the main thing that pays the bills. But for their first go into English, this is pretty good. Just for the love of God, use a different word than specialisms. I know you can't use
Yeah.
specializations, but emphasis, focus, sub skill, something else. Specialisms just just triggers the grammar part of my brain.
Yeah. Plus, isms are bad, right? You don't want to do a thing that's an ism. So, ah,
So so I've been told, but that will take care of it for this particular episode. Uh, we will be back with a couple more one shots next week. Uh, I think next week we'll actually cover Mighty Heroes of Old like I originally planned. We'll also be covering Inevitable, a doomed Arthurian western, because
oh,
Joe asked
that sounds cool. I'm gonna be sad. I'm gonna miss that.
because Joe wanted Weird West, so he's getting it.
Mm-hmm. In spades.
Mhm. And of course, tune in tomorrow as we finally start looking at character creation for Knight. And of
Hey.
course, on Saturday will be session 1 for the Veil of Eternal Night. So that should be some fun stuff to delve into.
Yeah.
But until then, on behalf of the good brothers present and not present, my name is Mildra. I am your gaming monk. Stay fucking frosty, everybody.
Good night.